Hello.
Welcome, Will. How are you this morning?
Good. Yeah, very good. Excited
good.
to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here.
Good.
Welcome to the Martin Talk Show.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, there's a little tradition to starting the talk show. Yes, the clap.
Yeah.
So you ready to join me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we go 3, 2, 1 and clap.
Cool.
And then clap.
Cool.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, that was a bit off.
Should we go again?
So is it 3, 2, 1,
1,
clap? Okay, cool.
3, 2, 1. There we go.
Back in.
Sing. So Will, tell me a little bit about D&D.
So D&D is a tabletop role-playing game. So it's basically improv. Like, it's the best way to explain D&D is you're sitting around a table, you have dice, and you play yes and. Like, that is pretty much the basis of the game. It is purely improv. You're in a fantasy world. There's dragons and different creatures, and you'll be playing in what we'll get around to. You'll be playing a hero with a group of other heroes on an adventure to defeat some form of evil
in a pure fantasy.
In
a pure fantasy and imaginary setup. So I guess we should explain some of the plans that we've been talking about.
Yeah,
we've been talking about playing a game of D&D on the podcast.
Yes.
So this little chat here is a little introduction to what we're going to be doing for me and for anyone that's going to be
So what people would traditionally call this would be a session 0.
Okay.
So this is when you would gather your players. You would talk about what type of character they want to play. Generally, you'd go into what kind of story they want to experience as a group. But I've had time to plan, so we've previously discussed what kind of story beats that we want to enter. You weren't really sure, so I asked the others and was like, what should we go for? And we crafted a story. But yeah, this will be your session 0.
This is my session 0.
Yes,
complete novice. I've got very little experience at D&D. I've got one traumatic experience at D&D, which I think I've told you about. And I've probably mentioned it before. But yeah, I had one experience at D&D, and it didn't go too well. And I didn't have any fun.
That's right. We're going to change that. We're going to change
that is the mission.
Yeah.
Because I feel like D&D is the perfect game for me.
Yeah.
Like I've watched people play it from afar and been like, I really want to join in on that.
Yeah.
And then when I did, it didn't work out.
Honestly,
the person that I was playing with, I don't think wanted me to play.
That's rough. But no, D&D is perfect for any actor or anyone who enjoys improvisation. It is perfect. It's such fun. If you've got a group of people that are willing to jump in, and when you've got actors as well, everyone will dive into their character. So like people will happily play a character with like a thick accent, and they'll go into it and they'll really like engage. It's great. It's such fun. And like you're not sitting there watching your friends at the table anymore. You're sitting there watching this dwarf like whip out his battle axe and charge into a horde of orcs. Brilliant.
Do you think that actors, because I wouldn't have thought it was a game for actors, like obviously it works for actors, but when you see it in films or you see people playing it there's a lot of gaming shops popping up right now, I would consider the majority of those people that I see not performers.
Yeah. A lot of, when D&D really first came around, like the 80s, you had like this it was a lot of like nerdy kids that would play it, and there's
nothing wrong with being a nerd.
No, I fit into the category of being a nerd, like 100%.
I live by that. That should be
absolutely
me.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm 100% a nerd. Like I sit there writing these fantasy stories for my friends to play. I bought myself a 3D printer to print miniatures. I have paints and paintbrushes, and I sit there at my desk painting, like literally like this close to a miniature, just painting lines that you wouldn't even notice unless you stand there and really look at the miniature. Like I 100% and wholeheartedly sit under that nerd category, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me at all. Like it's not an insult to me. It's a way of life.
Being a nerd has become really cool. Actually, I feel like when I was at school, as someone that liked comic books and fantasy worlds, and I liked things like this, but I felt like I was the only one. Yeah. Whereas now there's like this whole
it's definitely broadened up. And to be fair with D&D, like you can thank things like Stranger Things, like that really has opened up the player base of D&D. A lot of people have gotten into D&D because they've seen it in Stranger Things. Like, oh, that looks cool. Like, we should give that a try. But Stranger Things is like it really does. Obviously, it's set like in the 80s, and it shows the type of kids that did play it, which were traditionally more nerdy. And there was like a big scare that D&D was like this devil's game, and it was teaching kids to do these horrible things just because they were slaying dragons. There was a ban on it and all sorts. Like, it was crazy, but now it's back into mainstream and people love it. And yeah.
So do you know D&D that well, that you know like the history of D&D then?
I wouldn't be able to go into all the history. I know bits and pieces of D&D.
I'm really interested in this banning thing because I never heard.
There was like a massive craze scare about it where parents believed that their kids were being possessed by demons because they were playing these games, and like they were like seeing and hearing things and being told to do these terrible things because they were playing against these
because they
creatures.
were going into their imagination and finding this space within themselves.
Absolutely,
it scared people.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's kind of where it was, and thankfully it's now come back into like mainstream, and it's in mainstream media as well, which is great. But yeah, I love D&D. It's great, and it is perfect for actors, and anyone who thinks that they would enjoy being in a fantasy world. Like, even people who play video games, I try and get those to play D&D as well. I'm like, oh, like, do you like Skyrim? Do you like Elder Scrolls? Which are all these like fantasy, Elden Ring even, or Witcher, like all these fantasy games. If you enjoy them, the chances are you're going to enjoy playing D&D, because instead of you now controlling a character, you get to make every decision your character makes. Like, if you're going into a village, instead of being given 3 options of who you can talk to, you could literally go to anyone you want to.
So it's a game without constraint.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
It's kind of like there's no rules.
Yeah.
It's as far as your imagination can take you.
The only thing that would ever hold you back in D&D is if you've got a terrible DM that doesn't want you to do things like railroading, which is like
kind of like what I kind of had from my experience of playing D&D.
Railroading can be, so I'll explain what railroading is. That's like when you put your players on a track and you don't let them leave. Like, you have a story and you're making them follow that, even if they're like, oh, can we go over here? And they're like, oh, as you go to walk down this path, boulders fall down, block your path, you're gonna have to go back this way,
because it doesn't fit with what I wanted as the dungeon, as the D&D.
Which it's not what you want. So you don't want to unless you've got a story that has to be done in a set amount of time, like what we've done for our D&D session. I've put you in a scenario where it's, you guys are going to a village, you're going to investigate about some mysterious things that have been happening, and you're going to solve that. So really, you guys don't want to be like, oh, let's go to another village. Like, that would be completely against the whole idea of what the session is, and introducing you to a campaign. Okay. By all means, you could do that, but I'm then going to be purely like, there's no planning at all for anything on the road. Which, as I've told you before, I love to plan ahead for certain things. Like, you can't plan for everything in D&D. It is improv. I can't have every scenario in my head, but I can have a basis of a story.
So take me through the process then of you starting a game. Where does a game start for you?
So or
is that going too far back?
No, we can start there. So I'm a massive, I love homebrew. So homebrew is when you create a world of your own, rather than using the world that is created within the Dungeon Master books. So there's 3 books in particular of what we're doing.
Oh, cool.
There's these here.
Ooh, they look pretty epic.
Yeah, they're great. So these are the alt arts. So these there are different art versions, but I went for the fancy ones.
Okay. And does everyone that plays Dungeons and Dragons, does everyone have
So
these
you don't have to, but they help. They are a massive resource. So this one's the player's handbook. So
okay.
That's that one. So this traditionally is what you would use. We're going to use this later on. So this has character creation, how to play, for a player.
Have a look.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some incredible artwork in there, loads of detail. Excuse the cough, by the way. I'm not feeling too great. But yes, this goes.
You've got an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
here,
absolutely.
You,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah. So that's purely for the player.
Okay.
And then you have the Dungeon Master Guide, which is the one that I would use in particular. So this has things like how to make dungeons, how to make maps, how to plan encounters, all sorts of different things in there. You can can have a look at
so
that.
So did these books come out at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, so
they've been around since the
so when they launched Dungeons and Dragons, they released their first version of it, and since then we're up to D&D 5e, which is 5th edition, and that's what these books are. These are the 5th edition of the books, albeit the 2024 versions.
Yes,
because D&D 5e is kind of like the ultimate version of the game. It's the most delved into, the most detailed. Like, if you want to play D&D, 5e is definitely the place to start. It's very broken down and easy to get into in comparison to other versions of the game that have like very little explanations on anything. You can pop them on the floor if you want to.
Oh, well, I didn't want to.
No, you're all good. And then this is the monster manual. So this is the one that has like the most detail of like all the creatures that you can encounter. So traditionally, I wouldn't let my players have a look in this one.
Okay.
Because I like to say, you can have a browse through, because I doubt you're going to happen to open on a page that you're going to encounter. But
you would know too much about what's going to happen on your journey. It would it's almost like spoiling the ending.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a thing called metagaming, and metagaming is when you already know what creature you're coming up against, even if your characters don't, and then you use that to your advantage.
Okay.
So if you were coming up against something like a mimic, for example. So a mimic is one of the most traditional D&D characters. You'll see it in almost
so many characters in here.
Oh yeah, there's loads. A mimic is like the most traditional D&D character, monster even. You'll see it in all of the art. Traditionally it's seen as a chest,
right?
But when it opens up, it's got teeth. You may have seen it in art. Have you seen one of them?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And metagaming is when you, as a player, are like, oh, I know that this is a mimic. Like, I know how to defeat this, when your character would have absolutely no idea how to beat them. That's what metagaming is. That's why I try not to let my players
go too
deep into the monster.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's a main tool that I use. But in terms of creating a world, I love homebrew. So instead of using the world that they've created in them books, I create a world of my own. So we're actually going to be playing in the world that I've created for my campaign that I play with all of my friends. It's called Alvita. That is the world. And we'll be delving into a little section of land on that.
And that's okay to bring me into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's as someone that's not part of your normal campaign that you do with your selected group of friends on quite a regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come in for one game,
and
pop out, and you're happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not going to ruin anything.
No, not at all. So I've created literally like a world map. I've created the months of a year. I've created the moon cycles. So like I have a calendar on an Excel sheet, so I know when, because there's 4 moons of Alvita that surround it, and I know when Lorcus is going to be a full moon. Like that's one of the moons, particularly associated with werewolves. So like, I know when that one's going to be up. I can see when each moon is. And
so, are you planning this calendar in with the normal world calendar?
So I created it as a 364 day rather than 365, and divide it into 28-day months. So there's 13 months
into the real calendar.
Into the actual,
real calendar.
So 13 months of 28 days, 364 days, and then like each month, it kind of follows a similar season base of having like a spring, summer, autumn, and winter, but they're a little bit more harsh. Like winters are a lot harsher than.
So what I'm trying to get at is, if we played a game today, would you look specifically on the calendar where that falls?
So I would plan as to what kind of season I think you guys are playing in.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, we'll play in spring. So I'd open the calendar, I'd look at what's the months that I have in spring. I'd select just a random date in that, and then I can see like what the moon cycle is. I can see whether you'll hear werewolf howls in the distance and things like that, and then I can plan ahead in that. But yeah, massive advocate for homebrew. And if you've got the time to make a homebrew world, do it. It's so rewarding, like as a DM, to create this world and then watch all of my players experience it for the first time. Like, because I've sat there for literally hours creating this world and watching everyone like finally experience it, and enter these villages and towns that I've created. It's really cool.
This is a really interesting creative space because if you think of any other medium, if you think of like someone that's a writer that writes a book, they create a world, don't they?
Yeah.
And they create that story and then they pass that on to the reader, but then they don't really know how that's being experienced, the author.
Yeah.
But with this, you're creating something and then everyone experiences that with you.
Yeah,
going on a joint imaginary adventure.
It's also it's so good. It's super rewarding. Like that is the best word to explain it. Is I get to sit there, and there will be times where, obviously, as I said, it's a TTRPG, which is a tabletop role playing game, and role play is like with actors. If you can really delve into the role playing part, it's so fun because as a DM, I will set the scene. I'll say you're walking down a muddy path. It's late autumn, so the trees have shed their leaves. There's no flowers around. You hear the slight caw of a crow in the distance. There's a thick layer of fog that lays the floor. And then I will let everyone else just start talking, and then I'll just sit back.
And what's that feeling you get when you let it go, when you let the story just take its own way?
I don't even know how to explain it. Like the overall feeling, there's kind of like a weird sense of pride as well. It's like this is like really, I don't have kids, but it's like watching your kids like really just letting them have fun,
letting them go out in the world and find their own direction.
It fully is. Like I'll just set this basis, and then I'll sit back, and they can easily just have like 15-minute long conversations while they're on the road, and I won't interrupt them. I will let them just talk, and then once I can kind of see the conversation coming to a close, or it's hitting a bit of like I don't really know where to branch out, but like, you see the village ahead, and you see the tavern, you see a faint glow of like tavern lights and things like that, and then we'll branch onwards. But it is really fun, and I really hope we'll be able to kind of get you to understand that on Saturday.
I'm really looking forward to experiencing it in this proper way. I'd say my experience before wasn't kind of real. That was just a look, a look in,
a sour taster.
But whereas this feels like is going to be my first proper go. So I understand that the plan is that we're going to do it on the stage here. There's currently a show going on here, which you're involved in the show. We'll put a pin in that and come back to that. But we're on next weekend when we do this games night. Do we call it games night or D&D night?
We just call it. Just call it. I think we don't ever call it D&D night. We just call it straight up D&D. Like,
we're doing D&D.
D&D on Friday. Yeah.
So when we do D&D, we're going to put some tables on the stage here, and we have a board, do we? Yeah. So I'm a massive what's the word? I hyperfixate. Okay.
Like very much so. So I ended up managing to buy like a 32-inch TV that was relatively cheap, and I bought some pine from B&Q, and I built a table that's interactive. Okay. So I will then plug my laptop into the TV that's laid down, and then we use that as a board, so I can have like moving images and things like that. Wow. So we'll bring that in as well. And
I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a piece of cardboard.
No, like I do have like paper maps and like I have books where you can open it up and you can use a dry erase marker to draw out what layer you want, but I love the whole idea.
So we're going for real interactive board game. So it's going to be laid out on a table, and then we all just sit around the table.
We'll sit around the table. Do you have an iPad?
Yes. Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll create your character today, and then at some point we'll create your character on a app called D&D Beyond. Okay. And then instead of using paper, it's quite easier to use this app called D&D Beyond, and you'll use your iPad as your paper sheet. Right. You can then just subtract your health via buttons rather than have to like manually add up how many you've subtracted, and it's a lot simpler. It sounds complicated, but
once you get into
it's much better.
Then it's fine.
And I've already spoken to Rihanna, my partner. She's gonna sit next to you on Saturday. So if you have any questions of like, how do I do it, she'll be able to just do that.
Because then there's also different dice, isn't there? That we use.
Yeah. So that's like the fundamental part of D&D. I can't believe I haven't even jumped on the dice yet. It's like the most crucial part. Yeah, you can't play D&D without dice.
Do I need my own dice?
I have sets that you can use.
Right. Okay.
So you don't need to fret about that. But so you have a set of dice. I think it's 7. I can't remember. You got D20, D12, D10, D8, D6, D4. 8 dice, I think. Yeah, so anyway, a D20 is the primary dice. So any check you do, so in D&D, you'll have a check. So you might say, tell you what we'll do. When I first spoke to you about D&D, I put you into a brief scenario. We'll do that now.
Okay.
I feel like this is the best way to do it. So
yes, yeah.
You're walking through a forest and you see a tower. As you approach the tower, you notice a interesting marking at the bottom of the tower. You're not sure if it's magical or if it's a symbol of some sorts. You'll just see this marking and you're particularly interested by it. What do you do?
I go up to it and I feel it.
You put your hand on the marking.
I put my hand on the symbol.
So as you walk up to the marking, you place your hand on it and you feel a slight tingle in your hand. So you think it could be magical. At that point, I would say, would you like to make an Arcana check, which is kind of like a check to see if anything is magical or if it has any magical properties. Let's say you're quite in tune with magic. You would then roll a 20-sided dice, and you rolled a 14. But because you're quite attuned with magic, you have a +2 on any rolls to do with magic. So you don't roll a 14, you actually roll 16 total. And 16 allows you to understand that this symbol is actually a magical button where if you place your whole palm on it, it'll open a doorway. As you do that, in which case I would then say, do you want to do that? And that's when you got a lot of people go, I don't know. Some people will just
I want to go in. I want to go in.
Perfect. That's the way to do it. So
I'm here for an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and right.
Yes, and let's go for it.
Cool. So you place your hand and you do that, and the tower opens, a large door with a stairway leading down with faint flames that ignite like, and it gets quieter as it goes deeper. Yeah, you are here for an adventure, so I assume you walk down the stairway. And as you walk down, you hear some form of creature. You could then make a perception check, and you would then roll. And let's say you're not as perceptive as you are. You're not as good with perception as you are with magic. So you roll a 4. So you don't see the creature that's lurking on the rooftop above you. And that's when I would then branch into a scenario of, okay, the creature jumps down. I would then make you roll initiative, which would, initiative decides the order of who goes first in combat. And let's say you rolled a 19, so that's quite good. So you would go first. I rolled a 3. So you would actually, even though, you didn't perceive the monster actually, so you would have disadvantage. So the creature would get its first attack against you because you are in the surprised condition. So the creature would get its first attack, he may deal damage, and then we continue that. You would then take your turn, I would take my turn, you would take your turn, I would take my turn.
Whether I'm going to draw a weapon.
Exactly, yeah, you would choose whether 100%. That is exactly it. You would choose whether you want to cast fireball, whether you want to draw your sword, whether you want to just absolutely leg it down the hallway and just try and avoid this creature.
And as we're going through this imaginary world, are all the people playing coming along on exactly the same path of the adventure, or can some divert? I guess that's going to be quite hard for you to keep track if people do.
You can divert. It is 100% easy. It's easier for me if you all stick together.
Because I chose to go in. Yeah. The others might have gone, no, I'm going to hang out here.
Yeah. So sometimes it'd be a case of like someone says, like say they're a rogue. They're quite a stealthy character. They understand the idea of sneaking up on people and getting the ambush. So they might say, okay, you guys go ahead. I'm going to stay outside and I'm going to keep watch. I'm going to climb the tower and I'm going to sit with my bow and just make sure there's no one here. So they might do that, in which case I would then follow you and the rest of the people who go inside. And then I might say to the rogue, oh, roll a perception for me. And if they roll high enough, I'd be like, oh, you hear screams down in the tower. You know something's wrong. Do you want to go help? I'd give them the option to kind of be like, actually, I am going to join in on the fight. Or, no, I'm definitely going to stay here. Because there still might be the case if there's orcs following you and they might ambush you from behind. But yeah, so you can split up. And I will 100% like jump back and forth and be like, okay, we'll take a pause there. We'll go back to you guys. What are you guys doing? And then we'll take, and then be like, okay, cool. We'll go back to these guys quickly. But generally, if you're in combat, I'll stick with the combat as a primary.
So as we're playing this game and we're going on a journey, we're going on a path. and we're pretty much sticking together.
Mm-hmm.
How long can this go on for? Can this last an entire night? Is this a
like a session?
Long is it? Yeah, how long is a game?
A session easily, for me, traditionally will last like 3 to 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's the average, but I've done like day games where I've played for like 9 hours straight.
Wow.
Yeah, and like don't get me wrong, we'll have a lunch break,
mm-hmm.
but like I've done. One of my friends, he wanted for his birthday, he was just like, "Well, can you do me a D&D campaign, like just a one shot?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I created him a one shot. This wasn't in Alvita, the world that I created. This was, he said he wanted a steampunk dystopian world. That was all the basis that he gave me. So I created him a world that was
one shot. I've heard of this phrase before.
Yes.
This is
you
just play like a one-off.
You literally do a one-off. Yeah, it's just a one-day campaign. It's effectively how I've planned Saturday to be a one-shot, unless you guys really enjoy it, in which case I don't see why we couldn't ever jump back into it.
Okay.
So there will be like a definitive ending for just so I don't leave you guys on a cliffhanger. That'd be a bit of crap. But yeah, so he asked me for a one-shot world with steampunk vibes. So I created him an entire world. And then on his birthday, we just sat around, went around bought all my miniatures, bought my laptop, bought my TV, and then we just played that for 9 hours straight. But it's great. I love it. And I'm absolutely fine with doing it. Like, if you want that as a birthday present, 100% I'll do it. I get to just sit there and be creative. Like, it's great for me as well.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing outlet.
Yeah.
Amazing
100%
type of escapism.
Yeah.
And escapism with freedom as well. Whereas when you've got escapism within any other form of like media, whether that's books, computer games, films,
you're constricted
to that world there. Whereas this can take you wherever you're.
Exactly. And you can jump to the future. You could do a sci-fi campaign with aliens, and you can use similar monsters, but you can just change their stats slightly.
Yes.
Or one thing I do really want to try in the future is, instead of having dungeons, you're stuck on a space station with narrow hallways, kind of like Alien. And you're exploring that, and you've got like these alien creatures, and rather than having swords, bows, and magic, you've got flamethrowers and pulse rifles and things like that. I feel like that would be quite an interesting one to do one day.
See, this is taking to me now to this. Playing D&D seems like a really great training ground for creatives.
Yeah.
Where if you wanted to be, because you mentioned to me recently, do a bit of writing. So you're training your imagination, working those imagination muscles.
Yeah, absolutely.
To then put to use in other formats.
Yeah.
When you want to think about writing something, recently you're telling me a little bit about, you got ideas for Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Obviously Alice in Wonderland kind of like an already established property, but it definitely helps if you were writing a property that has no, like, if you wanted to write an entirely new story that's not been done before, or you just think, I want to do like a fantasy piece, which is something that I have spoken about as well, is kind of doing like a fantasy piece where you have you're effectively watching a D&D game on stage, but you have actors playing the characters, and then at the head of the table you have the kids playing. So like, you'd have a table at the back, you'd have kids sitting at the table, and they'd be like, and then like my character, he whips out a fireball, and you'd have someone on stage playing their character who looks amazing, who's got a fireball, but they roll a 1 on their roll, so they don't do any damage, and like nothing happens as they cast fireball, like things like that. I feel like that'd be quite interesting.
That's a really great idea. It was kind of like you could get some actors together to do the improv, kind of set up. In the costumes, and the kids control the. Well, it doesn't have to be kids, because adults clearly have imagination.
100%.
But playing the game, I really like it. No one's doing this.
I don't believe so. I don't think. Don't get wrong. This might already be a thing, but I don't think I've seen it, and I think it'd be quite interesting to have people actually playing a session.
Yeah,
and then
an audience watching. Watching it come to life,
and seeing people fail or get mauled by a displacer beast, which is kind of like a panther.
I guess, as you know, this could be a space for, as AI evolves, and the whole meta space is evolving with like virtual reality. This could be something for a space like that.
That meta is incredible. Like, the whole VR and augmented reality is very impressive. You could definitely do some interesting things with augmented reality. I mean, people already like wear like tracksuit bottoms, but they have like dots on them, and then when you look at them for an augmented reality, it changes what outfit they're wearing. Things like that. Like you could easily do things like that, where instead of them wearing a different outfit, you see one of those, a mind flare, which is kind of like a really tall octopus person. Is kind of like the best way to explain it.
It's almost like you could push the boundaries of reality with this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like break the boundary of theatre and cinema and games, and yeah, it'd be quite cool.
All into one.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a seed of an idea here.
There's something.
There's
definitely something
here.
Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in the future.
No, but like I said, well, it's a seed. We water it and see if it can make it grow.
I would love to try something like that. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. Well, I think with ideas like that, the best thing to do is just start experimenting.
Yeah, 100%.
I like the idea of this so much that I think past the D&D night, I think we should try and figure out a way to make that happen here.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just as an experimentation thing, that we just sit at the back, a group playing the board game, and we just get some, because we know enough actors.
Yeah.
We get some actors together, we get them dressed up, and we get them all the weapons, and we set up some different lighting states.
Yeah.
And just see what happens.
There are improv shows like where the audience suggests ideas, but I think it'd be quite interesting.
And they're always comedy, the improv shows. Whereas this isn't comedy, this is fantasy.
Yeah. And you could really, rather than have the audience just shout out ideas, which you still could do, but you're relying on a dice roll. Yeah. And I think that kind of creates a different dynamic, because it's not always going to hit comedy. It might be an emotional point where someone has been knocked down and they're dying, and you're like, oh, okay, I want to revive them, but you roll a natural 1, which is like the lowest you can roll on a d20, and it fails. And like, no, like I can't, like they're gone, like I can't do anything.
Yeah,
like I think it'd be interesting to do things like that, but I think it'd be fun.
No, this sounds great.
It's something we need to try.
I like this one.
Yeah,
I like this. So where this is taking me now is, where did D&D start for you? Where was the beginning? Have you always played it from a young age?
So no, I've always wanted to play it, but I never got around to doing it. And I suggested it to my brother and Rihanna about playing it, and then my other friend Mitch, he had watched D&D, not D&D, he had watched Stranger Things, and he'd seen it, and it was like, oh yeah, I'd give it a try as well. This is what I mean by how like Stranger Things had like a good influence on.
Yeah, it's a good time for that. Nostalgia is kind of like, there's this nostalgia bubble that just keeps growing at the moment, doesn't it? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger 100%. And bigger. And D&D kind of fits into that, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I suggested it to them. I was like, do you want to play D&D? And they're like, yeah. So we played a couple of, we call them episodes, like sessions. Played a couple of sessions, and then we ended up getting Luna Austin and Dan Middleton, and they joined in. And sadly, that campaign actually just kind of fizzled. I think we all kind of got busy, and we had things that we were doing. It kind of faded out.
Life gets in the way.
And that was in a previous world that I'd created, and then it came round again. I was like, I really want to play D&D again. So I suggested it to Rihanna, Andrew, my brother, Mitch, Luna, Danny, and I created a Hogwarts campaign. And they're playing first years in Hogwarts, like it's a Harry Potter world. I created an entirely new separate character sheet. They're not using D&D Beyond. It's strictly homebrew. Instead of learning how to cast D&D spells, they're learning actual spells. I make them do lessons. Like they have to turn up to lesson, and they get 3 chances to roll high enough on a dice to learn Wingardium Leviosa for their first year. And I'm kind of, that one is a narrative story, so they are railroaded to a degree of like, you do have a story you're following. This is one I've created for you. And then Mitch went to drama school, and everyone was like, oh, I really want to play D&D, but we can't continue on the Hogwarts one because we need Mitch here, like it's a group story. So I was like, okay, what I'll do is I'll create another world, and we can play in that. And that was where Alvita was born, and I started making Alvita, and we got Georgia to join in, and Boo Miller, who you've had on. They joined in as well. So now I'm playing with 8 other players, which is quite a big table, to be fair, for D&D. I'm interested to see how 4 players flows in comparison to 8, because 8 can be quite a bit sometimes. It's great in terms of improv because everyone's got something to say, and
everyone can have their moment.
Yeah. yeah, 8 is a lot of people to run, and when you've got all these different, like, everyone likes a character with a good backstory. Like, they'll create this tragic backstory. Oh, when I was younger, my father was killed, and I will avenge him. and then someone comes up with another story. It's like, oh yeah, like I raised a family, and my family were killed, and it's like it's always like some tragic backstory. And then you have one person who's playing a bard, which is like the musical genius. And they're just like, oh yeah, I like to sleep around, and that's their backstory. And you're like, all right. And then you can like weave in things for all the different backstories, and you can kind of make it feel more rewarding for them. Like, oh, okay, my character's being seen. Like the person, they might be coming across a group, and then it turns out the leader of this group is actually the person who killed their dad when they were a kid, and they're like, oh, it's my chance to get revenge. And you can start adding those threads, which is, and then there's just a maiden who wants to sleep with the bard. It's quite fun. But,
and how does this strengthen your friendship groups? Because as we get older, it is harder for us to keep friends.
Yeah.
Because we all get busy. We already said life, gets in the way of things like this when we're trying to set up games, and we're trying to do group activities. Other things come up. But how does it strengthen your relationships with others?
I think improv is just a great way to strengthen your relationship with people anyway, but just the being able to plan sessions, like we will finish a D&D session, an episode, and then we'll be like, okay, when are we next free? And that's when we'll do it. And then we have it in our diary. We can't let anything get in the way, unless someone gets like an acting job come up, in which case, fair enough. Like
work, something.
Yeah. Which I completely get, but traditionally,
you put it in the diary, you plan it,
literally there and then. It is like, okay, we've got it.
You have a purpose for meeting. It's not just going to the pub or something.
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's specific reason. For meeting.
And it's something we all enjoy. Like we all, a normal episode, I'll end on a relative cliffhanger, or I'll end it on a point where it's like, oh, what's like actually going to happen next? Like, it doesn't have to be a cliffhanger, but like it's always just kind of leading on to like, oh, what's going to happen next?
Something,
or they're on the way
to pull you
something.
back.
Yeah. So when an episode ends, people will be like, oh, why'd it end there? I'm like, oh, like I can't wait for the next episode. Like it's and it's lovely for me. I love that, and it's so nice. Because I'm a relatively confident person, but even them like creating an entire world and letting people play in it, I still have like the doubt of like, oh, I really hope they're enjoying this, and they're not just saying they're enjoying it. But yeah, like when you get that reaction, and it's a completely earnest reaction, like it'll finish. They'll be like, no, oh. All right, and you're like, oh yes, like I'm actually doing
that. That's a great feeling, isn't it? When you create something, you put it out in the world, and others do enjoy it. That is a wonderful thing. Absolutely. And I mentioned recently to you where we're doing this show together at the moment. When I was writing this, I was very concerned that no one would enjoy it. Even the start of the first rehearsal, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, can I put this out into the world? But then watching it come alive with the actors and the performers, you go,
we've got something here.
What was that voice in my head doing? Why did I need
absolutely?
Why did I need to have this negative voice going to me? No, you're no good. You have no idea what you're doing, and 100%. Everyone's gonna hate it. I don't know where it comes from.
Everyone's got that voice that sits somewhere, whether it's louder than it's definitely louder than most, but
in some than others. Or maybe some just learn to work on it or not listen to it quite so much.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely have it. I don't have it a lot, but I feel like out of everything, it's D&D is where I get that the most, which is really weird because I do a lot of things on stage in front of people I don't know. And I don't ever...
It's because it's yours. It's because it came from you, I think. Whereas when you're an actor and you're just doing the performance, you're doing someone else's thing. You're doing someone else's piece. Not most of the time. And so if someone says, oh, that was bad, you've got someone else you can blame. Them. Whereas if someone negatively criticizes what you're doing here,
this is something that I've sat there created that I thought was good. And,
that you put time and effort into.
Absolutely. Yes. That's
you gave birth to it. It's your children.
Yeah, fully. But yeah, I love it. I really love D&D. It's such a great like outlet, and you can really explore things that you'd never get to explore. And I would always like make sure that themes that are coming up in the D&D in the campaign are okay with other people. Like, is this okay? Like, are you okay? Like, I'll check up on people in between sessions where I'm like, I know that you wanted that. Like, I had a character cry in one of my in the most recent session, and I just messaged them after. I was like everything okay? Like it didn't hit too close to home or anything? Like that was character based, right? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. It was like I was just drawn in the moment. It just made me cry like as my character, and I was like, perfect. I was like, because like that's amazing. Like if you can draw someone to that emotion,
yes, yeah,
from me setting a scene and then the rest of the characters are interacting, and you've it was incredible. Like that was a proper like, wow, this is cool.
Is hitting, this
is awesome. Yeah, that was a cool moment.
So what do I need to do before next weekend then? What do I need to do now?
We should make your character.
Okay.
I think that's probably
that's the next step.
I
make character.
Yeah.
And so I do this on a website.
So you can do this on a website. We're going to do it via the book, and then we're going to create it on the website. Afterwards.
Can we do this now here? Now?
We can do it via the book now.
Yeah, let's do it through the book now. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I've got my pen and paper.
Okay.
So I'm going to note them, and then we can do it via your via the website later. As I said, this is the book that we'll be using for you. So this is the Player's Handbook. So when we first spoke about D&D, you said to me you wanted to be someone who gets into hand-to-hand combat, but can also use magic. I thought the perfect character for you would be a paladin, which a paladin is a character who is sworn to an oath. Okay. So they have something they follow and they stick to that. They are firm believers. And there is something called the oath breaker, where if you don't follow your oath, like a negative effect follows you. So we'll set you up as a paladin. I'll give a read as to what you've got. Excuse me again. So I'll read a description as to what a paladin is. Everyone can kind of get a gist as to what paladin is, and then we can kind of dive into what you want to create. So paladins are united by their oaths to stand up against forces of annihilation and corruption, whether sworn before a god's altar, in a sacred glade before nature's spirits, or in a moment of desperation and grief with the dead as the only witness. A paladin's oath is a powerful bond. It is a source of power that turns a devout warrior into a blessed champion. Paladins train to learn the skills of combat, mastering a variety of weapons and armor. Even so, their martial skills are secondary to the magical power they wield. Power to heal the injured, smite their foes, and protect the helpless and those who fight at their side. So they are very much hand to hand with like long swords, shields, but then they will holster that and they will smite an enemy or heal a friend. They're really cool characters. I really want to play a paladin. Like This is something, maybe I'm projecting myself into you a little bit here.
A little bit. Yeah.
I really want to play a paladin. I've never played D&D. I've only ever DM'd.
Oh, really?
Which is super. Like I really want to play. It's really annoying.
Where are you? How can you do that then?
Well, thankfully,
because isn't this the worry that then you'll become meta, that you'll know too much?
I think I understand the idea of metagaming enough to kind of hold myself back. Yeah, and it's something that I'm very much aware of. Like I'm super aware of the idea of metagaming. Thankfully, I know none of my players do that, but I'm aware of it to the point that it would annoy me if I were to start doing it. It's like if you were to cheat in a game, like just why are you cheating? What's the point? Like what joy are you getting out of cheating? Which is something I stand by like quite strongly. So like I don't get why I would ever do that.
No.
But yeah, so
sorry, I distracted you then.
That's all right. You're all good.
Description.
I'm trying to think of how to. Maybe we should go off of your character's vibe first, and then we'll dive into.
Off of their vibe.
Yeah, so we'll talk about how your character looks first, actually.
Yep.
We'll do that. So your character, how do you see them? Are they confident? Are they shy? They're obviously devout to their oath, so they are strong-willed in terms of that. But how do you see them? Do you see them as
perceived as being confident, but internally, they're very unsure of themselves.
Okay, cool.
And we can go on these different levels: a perception level from others and an internal level.
Yeah.
We can go
absolutely. Yeah. And this is all things that will label into your character. And there might be a scenario where someone needs to lead the way, and your character would be, oh well, I need to be this confident one. So you'll lead the way, but you know that your character is actually nervous.
Yes.
And there might be a check that shows that through. Someone might do a say insight check on you, and they'll be like, they don't seem as confident as I think. Like that's things that can happen in a broader campaign. So you're confident but internally like reserved. Let's talk about like your height. We'll talk about your look quick.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
So we can go anywhere, can we?
Oh, 100% we can go.
Yes. Yeah, so like, let's say they're so they're, you know, let's say they're 6 foot.
Yeah, cool. So just straight 6 foot.
Yeah, let's just go straight cool. 6 foot.
Hair color, hair type.
Yeah, I'm thinking dark. I'm thinking a tall kind of Frodo kind of image I'm getting at the moment.
So curly hair?
Curly hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any beard or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it needs to have a beard.
Big bushy beard or just a bit of?
Yeah, big bushy beard.
Yeah.
Long.
Cool. Bushy beard. Cool. Are you wearing armor? Are you clad in like thick metal armor, or are you just wearing like a leather tunic? Or are you wearing pretty bare armor?
Leather tunic sounds good. Yeah. Cool.
You can really kind of if
like being the paladin. I see on the picture here they're covered in like a metal armor.
Yeah,
but they don't have to look.
No,
like
absolutely,
that.
You do not have to look like that. You could be someone who is surrounded in squalor and not have anything, and then that's a cool.
That's like that's just their race.
Yeah.
They can have many different styles.
100%. I mean, you originally said that you wanted to be a human, like just a flat human race, which is one of the many species that races/species you can pick. There's orcs, halflings, which are like hobbits, tieflings, which are kind of like devil people, is like the best way to explain them. There's dwarves, there's elves, there's so many, and then they also have like subspecies. Like you might be a wood elf or a high elf. Like there are so many species, but yeah, you went for a human paladin, and you're wearing a leather tunic. You got dark curly hair with a bushy beard. You're 6 foot tall. You're confident but internally shy. What type of weapon do you think you would wield? Do you want to go for like a sword traditionally, or an axe, or what do you think you'd run?
Could I have some kind of like spear?
You can go for a spear. Yeah, we'll go for a spear. Cool. A shield as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have to be wielding it constantly. It can just be sitting on your back. But yeah, absolutely. Cool. Perfect. Lovely. Right. Okay. So we've got the overall vibe. So you're a 6 foot tall, perceived as confident. So you probably stand there quite confidently. You have a spear in hand, a shield that's either on your left hand or on your back. If you're right-handed for your spear, of course, you could be left-handed if you want to be. You've got bushy beard, confident in terms of that. Lovely. So, your primary abilities. So in D&D, you have 6 major abilities, and they branch into several additional checks. So the way to explain this is you have strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. So each of those will have a specific stat. So for you, the way we're doing it is to each of those checks, you will have a -1, a +0, a +0, a +1, a +2, and a +3.
Okay.
So you can now assign those to each of those checks. So for a paladin, you really want your strength and charisma to be your highest 2. So you would say apply strength to the +3 and charisma to the +2.
Okay.
So any check that you make that requires strength, or any check that you require that you make that requires charisma, you would add those to your D20 roll. So if I tell you to make a strength check, so say you're trying to lift a boulder, there's a boulder in the way, you're trying to lift it, and you roll an 11, but what you needed was 14 to successfully do it. Thankfully, you've got +3 on a strength, so you actually succeed. So you manage to lift the boulder out of the way. That's kind of the best way to explain it. We could then sort these into others. So say you've got a +0 on dexterity, your constitution is +1, your wisdom is +0, and your intelligence is -1. So you're not the smartest being, but you're quite strong.
Yeah,
I feel like that's quite a lot of people who go for high strength end up not being the most intelligent. I feel like that's quite a common thing.
Because it can't balance out, and it almost sounds like real life.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
You choose to
choose where you're gonna how you're gonna balance out.
Absolutely,
your ratio.
100%. So this will all come. I can explain this better when we're around the table.
When we're starting.
Yeah, when we're playing, because I will tell you.
Normally, I would do this in advance of me playing a game.
Yeah.
I would set all this up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would come with this knowledge.
Yep. Yeah. Even if I'd spoken to you beforehand, normally I would obviously speak to you beforehand and we'd have this plan. And then when it came to the table, you would know your character, you would know everything that you're looking to do. A little bit different, but it's fine. It's still gonna flow fine.
Okay.
So we'll sort those for you. You also have a hit dice, which is your overall health. This will come to play, obviously, in the session. You may come across foes that will try and damage you, and you'll have a set amount of health. If your health depletes to 0, you are knocked out. And if you are knocked out, you then need to make 3 saving throws. Now, what a saving throw is, that keeps you living. If you make 3 successful saving throws, you wake back up. You are stable. Sorry, your body is stable. You will not die. If you make 3 failed saving throws, you're dead. Your character is gone. The only way you can be brought back is by magic, and it's quite hard to be able to do that.
Okay.
So we, as a one shot, I'm as a DM, I'm not going to be pulling punches. So I will be dealing damage, and if one of you gets knocked out, one of you is going to have to help them get back up. And if you don't, your character's dead. They're gone.
But then I guess the evening could end quite soon.
Oh, absolutely,
It could be over before it's even started.
Yeah. So you could get a TPK, which is a total party kill, which isn't the greatest thing to get in a D&D campaign, but sometimes that's just how it goes. If you choose to go into a dragon's lair and you're not prepared enough, your chances are you're going to die. He's not going to spare you. He's just going to burn you all to death and you're done.
And I guess this, we started off this conversation saying that this is like a world of your imagination can go wherever it wants, but there does need to be some constraints to it. There does need to be some limitations for where you can go. Otherwise, there's no consequence and no fun. Yeah,
100%.
It's oh, well, I'm not going to die, so I'll do whatever.
You absolutely can die in this. 100%. There is leveling in this game, so you'll be starting at level 5. So once we've created your character, I will help you level up from level 1 to level 5. So you've got a little bit more of your character. You can do a little bit more.
Okay.
Deal a little bit more damage. You'll have a little bit more health. But yeah, if you know that there's a foe that you're coming across, it's worth taking your time and leveling up your character and getting the experience. That's basically what you're doing. You're training your character effectively and leveling them up so that they can face this bigger foe. And if you don't...
This is almost sounding to me, this is weird. It's almost sounding like real life in some way.
No, there's absolutely real life aspects.
Almost like real life lessons. Like we've got to learn these things along the way.
Yeah,
haven't
100%.
We? We've got to build up.
And you're not going to be amazing at everything.
Everything straight away.
Yeah.
No, we've got to learn things along the way.
And there will be things that people are better than you at.
And there are consequences and you could die.
Yeah, fully, there is some... I'm trying to create this while also not just sticking to a book, because that'd be quite... That wouldn't be too entertaining to watch. But there's also something called inspiration. And inspiration is if you do something in the role play that I, as a DM, think is awesome, I might just grant you inspiration. And what inspiration is that allows you to re-roll any check at any point. So you might have an awesome bit of role play where I'm like, Martin, that was awesome. Like that was that was exactly what your character would do. I love that. And then you need to make a check and you roll a 2, which is dreadful. Even if you've got +3, a 5 is probably not going to cut it. You can then say, can I use my inspiration? In which case, absolutely you can. You re-roll, and then you roll a natural 20, which is like the best, which is like a guarantee, pretty much a guarantee success. And in which case you could do it. Like inspiration is a really cool feature for a DM to dish out. And I think you should hand out inspiration.
It's something to be encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as I said, I love the role-playing aspect of D&D. So if you can really branch into that and everyone is diving into that, then yeah, I'll dish out as much as I can. Sometimes I forget, don't get me wrong, but I've got a lot of things to think about behind that DM screen. But absolutely, if you can do that and I can give you inspiration, then yeah. So really, like, have fun.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Just dive in.
Yeah, just play your character. Remember you're playing this 6-foot paladin who's got this spear, he's got his sword, he's quite adept in being able to fight. Like, delve into that idea.
Yeah. No, this sounds perfect. I've always been, as far back as I can remember, in my head, I've always been in a story type world, and this just sounds perfect for me. Yeah. This just sounds a perfect way for me to be able to connect with others as well, because someone that is in their own head a lot, someone that is creative and has stories going on in here, can be a lonely place. Yeah. Whereas this sounds like it's opening up that place to not be quite so lonely anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I love D&D. It is awesome. I love fantasy. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Narnia, like all that. So like being able to just then experience it. This is why I really want to play, because like being able to experience it as a player. Yes. Like I can only assume is awesome. So I've created so many characters.
So how will you go? Do you need to find a new group to be a player?
No, absolutely not. So
you can be a player within your
group? So one thing I done when creating this world of Alvita, I actually messaged all my players and was like, guys, can you send me an event that's happened in history? I was like, you don't need to dive into detail. I was like, it just needs to be a quick summary of something that's happened. And one of my players, I believe it was my brother that came up with this one, came up with the idea of something called the Banishing. And it was a portal opened to one of the 9 hells, and demons came out and they abolished this, like destroyed this town before they were pushed back into hell. And the reason I've done that is so that the world can have a bit of history. So if they end up, for whatever reason, visiting that town, you can know that when you see this memorial, your characters won't know, but you might see something there that says, like remembering the day of the Banishing. And also it allows for, if I ever get to be a player, if one of the other players wants to try DMing, they don't have to create an entire story. They can look back in the history and be like, oh, there was an event called the Banishing. Let's see how that played out. And they can use that description, and then they can explore that how they want. They can create a world around that. And then we can experience that piece of history of the world. And then not only have we already got that there, we've now actually fleshed out that history, and we know as a group what happened in the past, which I thought was I was quite proud of myself for that idea, like kind of
really cool
broadening out like the history of it. But I like that. I made people come up with constellations so that if you're in the nighttime, you can look up. Rihanna, she's playing a bard in this campaign, and she created a constellation called Musique, which is a constellation of stars that looks like a guitar. And her character looks up at that as kind of like a way of giving herself hope, which I thought was really cool as well. Like you've added meaning to that concept. Not only is it a way to now read the stars as like a what way to go,
it means something.
It means something to the character, which I thought was really cool. And I really like the idea of not just being on the ground. Like you've got all these things to look around. You've got all the past to look at, and to explore and influence your character. But yeah, I love it.
I am so excited to go into this one.
I can't wait for you to play it. Genuinely, I'm really excited.
In my mind, I'm going to. I want to be a D&D master. I want to explore all these different places.
They were really fun.
Yeah,
it's really fun. I'll have to show you like my Word documents. I've got loads.
Have you ever considered, or have you ever filmed any of it before? Have you?
We film every session.
Oh, you do film every session. What do you do with that once you film?
It's just on a a unlisted page on YouTube so that they can all watch. It's not open for everyone to watch.
So it's for you as a group to go.
It's purely for us to be able to watch and be like, oh, like we can either look back to reminisce, or what we mainly use it for is recaps. Like if a major part of D&D is taking notes, it's very crucial you take notes in D&D, especially on a bigger campaign. In a one shot, not too much. It definitely will help. Don't get me wrong. Take notes, but in a broader session, there might be a character that you come across. Like there was a group they encountered called the Order of Elves, and they were like, "Oh, we should note that." And then later on, that came up again.
Yes.
But sometimes you're drawn in by what's happening, and you're role playing that you forget to note. So having them videos and being able to rewatch them is really handy. Like, oh, I missed that.
You'll pick up on little tiny moments that could mean a lot.
We actually had a bit of a reveal. One of our characters, my brother, was playing a character who was a werebear, but none of the party knew besides Rihanna's character, because they each had their own backstories. But Rihanna and my brother had a history that they'd been roaming together for a while before they met up with this group. So she knew that he was a werebear, but they were kind of restricting it, and he previously couldn't control it. But up until recently, through leveling up, he'd understood what this power, a curse that he had now understood was actually a power. And mid-fight, my brother's quite shy. He enjoys singing and he loves D&D, but he's definitely not a person to majorly roleplay. But he's really been getting into it with his character Baron, who's an orc. He's like really hunched, but he's actually like 7.5 foot tall when he stands up straight, and he talks like this. She's really slow. He's really funny. And my brother does this. And he had this moment where everyone was like, oh, Baron's so cute. He's so dopey. And she was talking like this, and he just went into this and transformed. And it was an awesome moment. And everyone was like, what is happening? Like, this is fucking this is amazing. Like, and it's proper and we can now look back on that on the video and be like, oh, Andrew, that was awesome. But he was so nervous. He was shaking afterwards.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't know how this is gonna be, and I don't act like so. His hands were literally shaking.
But you're able to bring out other sides of your personality.
Yeah, 100%.
You're able to. It's kind of like, sounds like a game that helps you grow as a person.
Yeah, he would never have done that if it wasn't with that group of people and in D&D. Like, I really do like thank that group of people, because most of them are my friend, like they're my age, they're my friends. And my brother's, he's 21. Most of us are like 25 and older, or Rihanna's 24, so 24 and older. And they're all like my group that I have done shows with and worked with, and he is now part of that group. Like, they are equally all part. They're all friends now. It's lovely. I love it. It's so sweet.
That is amazing. That really is. That is something special.
100%.
Create that.
Yeah. Listen.
So tell me a little bit about how this, we touched on it earlier, how this informs you as a performer then. How does D&D connect in any way?
Yeah, I mean,
strengthening your skills as an actor.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, improv is such a crucial point in acting. Even if you're not doing an improv show, being able to improv if something goes wrong is so crucial. Like, as like something, if you can get that down, you should be okay for a show. And D&D is perfect for that. Like, if you can improv in D&D and just the more yes and like really agree with people, don't shut people down. The chances are you're going to be able to flow a scene better. You're going to be able to, if something goes wrong, fix the scene and correct it. And as I said, I'm not a massively shy person. I'm quite confident when it comes to stage. Don't get me wrong, like before a show, I'll get a little bit nervous, but I take that first step onto a stage and they go. Like, I love being on stage. That's why I want to do it as a career. But yeah, it's, and for me, D&D, I get, as the dungeon master, I get to practice all these voices because I want to do voice acting and motion capture. So not as much stage work, but on screen in a black suit with white dots on me, that's the type of acting I want to do. And being able to be a dungeon master, and I'm playing this plethora of characters you guys are encountering. Like, you might be talking to the barman who's sitting there and talking like that the entire time, and then you'll be fighting some goblins. They're talking like that, And like you just change, and it's perfect for me because I sit there and I'm just like, oh, that's a cool idea, and I'll note that, and we're like,
it gives you a space. It helps you just settle into your imagination fully from playing this game, doesn't it? It
100%.
allows you to just go deep in the imagination. That if you're doing, like you said, motion capture is something that you do and want to do. You're wearing a black suit that's got balls on it, so you haven't got any costume.
Yep.
So you can't look at yourself and be like, right, I'm another character now.
Yeah.
You literally have to go deep within the mind, deep within that imaginary space.
Yeah.
And
it's
and just be free.
Yeah, it's like I was as a kid when I learnt about like what motion capture was. I used to like throw myself on the sofa and pretend, because I learned about it through Lord of the Rings and King Kong. Like Andy Serkis was like a massive influence for me. So I'd jump on the sofa, pretend to be a monkey, and like jump around the lounge. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. Like that was what I used to do as a kid, which is mental. Like if you were to look at a kid doing it, you're like, what the hell is he doing?
But now you're an adult doing
and now I'm an adult. Yeah, exactly. Like that was when I learned that you could do that as a career. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do then.
Yeah.
Like, that's perfect. And D&D really allows me to explore that part of it, like the voice side of it as well. And it's great. Like I will always, if I'm playing a character, if I'm doing a character in a show, I will add something. Like, I will try and add something to it. I'll try and flesh out this character. I'll add a voice or a hunch or a walk, and like I'll lift my hands. I'll try and really kind of embody the character rather than just read the lines. Like that's something I really try and do. Even if it's a relatively normal character, like a quite basic character, I'll try and add something to them that's quite unique. Like everyone has something they do. Like a lot of the time, I've actually been quite chill. Normally I sit here just bobbing my knees the entire time. It's not a nerves thing. I just do it. But like everyone has something that they do.
People have their quirks.
Yeah.
No, I truly believe, even though
to someone.
There's, what is there, something like 6 billion of us on the planet or something like that. I do believe that everyone is unique.
Yeah, 100%,
that there isn't any two people that are
identical.
exactly the same.
Exactly. Yeah. So I always try and add something. So having this improv and being able to explore different characters really allows me to then pull that into stage work and add something to a character, add a hunch, add a voice, add a quirk. I think that's what acting is, isn't it? It's just being able to explore and have fun with what you've been given. Love it.
So what are your hopes with performing? What are your hopes and dreams for the future?
I mean, motion capture and voice work is the ultimate dream for me. 100. That's where I've been obsessed with since I discovered it. As I said, King Kong and Lord of the Rings Gollum in particular were massive influences, and then the newest versions of the Planet of the Apes with, again, Andy Serkis playing Caesar in that. And then I played games like The Last of Us, which is obviously now a TV show, but when the game launched, there were behind the scenes videos, which I've watched over and over again, of the actors in black suits with white dots holding sticks with white dots as guns, or sticks with white dots as a crowbar. And they're just using their imagination and role playing this world. And obviously they've got scripts that they're following, but like even when they're opening a car door, it's just a bit of scaffolding that they're opening, and they'll open it and they'll sit down on just a chair and then close it, and then he'll just lean back and put his hand on nothing, and he's in a 4x4 just driving along the road, and they're having, it's just incredible. And that's what I want to be able to do, is create something that influences others through what really is nothing. Like you have nothing on you, you're not holding anything, but you've created this scene that makes people want to do what you're doing.
You
like
if I can people into your imaginary world, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if I can give someone the influence that I got from watching these things when I was younger, then I've succeeded. Like that's success for me, is being able to make someone think, I want to do what he's doing. Like that is, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Like to be able to influence someone that much that they want to do that as a career. Like that's like the best form of like power that you can ask for. It's fair to influence someone into and to be the next generation of that.
To show them a little bit of the way forward.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the ultimate dream for me, and it's hard.
And are you living any of that dream at the moment? Because at the moment, I know we were performing on this stage, aren't we?
Yeah, so obviously we've got Rapunzel, we're doing that. I'm playing the king, who, again, I've added a quirk to, added a voice and a hunch and hands. And I love stage work, 100%. And I will always do stage work, I think. Because that's what motion capture is, stage work. You're just in a stage without an audience. Like, that's what that is. But yeah, 100%. Mocap is where I really wanted to go, voice work, and I've done like several courses. I've got my voice reel sorted. I've done courses for mocap. It's just getting into it, and it's hard. But if I can get on,
the space for work is quite small, isn't it? It's quite
It's also It's slowly getting bigger, which means it's slowly getting more populated with more people, and obviously the bigger it gets, it's like trying to get into stage. There's so many people trying to get into stage professionally, and the amount of people that are, it's so hard to actually manage to get your foot in the door when everyone else is also trying to jam their leg in the way. But at the moment, it's still a relatively confined thing. So as long as I keep gunning for it, you just
you will make it.
You just got to keep going.
Yeah,
that's kind of where my head is just keep going for it.
So it all sounds good. It all sounds like I was thinking about your younger self. You talked about when you were younger and you was influenced by these things when you were younger, the things that you're kind of doing now, and you've got this future plan of where you're going to move into with it. Sometimes with this podcast, I like to go to an imaginary place where I jump in a time machine. Okay. Now, if I was to get in a time machine right now with you, this is our time machine here, we'll pull the lever and we'll go back and we'll grab your 8-year-old self. Okay. And we brought them to now and we let them watch Rapunzel this week. Okay. What do you think they'd say to you afterwards?
What they'd say to me? I don't know what they'd say. I know that they would sit there thinking, because I loved stage shows as a kid. Like I always used to go to like the pantomime every Christmas. Like that was like a tradition. And then seeing stage shows was just, it's such like you just get transported into this other world. Like it's a way to just fully just forget everything and be immersed. So I know that they would sit there being immersed in this show, and as soon as that ended, I know that they would be thinking, oh, that was great, I really enjoyed that, especially with the music we've got, because knowing my younger self, I know that I like all the music that's in this show. Obviously it's kind of like a jukebox, this show. Yes, what they'd say to me, I don't know, but I know that they would love it and it would only drive them more. Like that's one thing that I do know.
And what would you say to them?
Just keep going. Like, because the 8-year-old self of me was, I'm really trying to think back. He loved shows, but he wasn't into acting yet. He didn't realize that you could truly do motion capture like as a career that you could just branch into.
Just something you enjoyed. You watched.
Yeah, it was something that I thought of, and I thought it was only famous people could do that. I think that's where my head was at, because by that point Andy Serkis was like the name for motion capture. Like if you wanted mocap, it was Andy Serkis. So I knew Andy Serkis and I was like, oh, he's quite famous. You can only do that if you're famous. It was not until I got into secondary school and I'd done Into the Woods, which was the first show I ever done on stage in year 9, that I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like I'm really enjoying being on stage, pretending to be someone else, like in front of people and performing for people. It was at that point that I was like, okay, this is something. So I think at 8, he'd be thinking, this is awesome. I love this, but I can't do this. So maybe I'd say something, you can do this. But I also, I'm a firm believer on not changing the past, because you wouldn't be where you are now if you did.
Everything happens for a reason.
100%. Yeah, like, I'm a strong even things that are negative, like things where I'm like, I wish that never happened. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I wouldn't be the person I am now. I wouldn't be here in this chair with you. Like there are so many variables. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a proper deep answer. It'd be like, I wouldn't change anything because I don't want to change where I am now. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I were to say, go for it because you can do it, they might end up having they might try going for it and then have a terrible experience. Feel like, I'm never doing that. Mm-hmm. And then I've screwed it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like a proper...
It's a bit of a... Yeah, it's a bit of a mind mess, that one. Is it?
Sorry.
No. Like, it's interesting where these different places go. But yeah, you can't get your younger self to change the way that they did things. Or you wouldn't be where you are now.
Yeah. And I'm happy with where I am now.
Yeah.
Like...
you're doing the thing and you're on a path to doing more of the stuff.
100%. Yeah. A lot of people say, like, you got to be married, you got to have kids by 30.
Is it? Why?
I don't know. That's what I mean, like, what are you on about? I'm not able to do that. I can't take care of a kid. I'm barely making enough to take care of myself.
You're in your 20s, yeah?
Yeah, I'm 25.
You're 25, yeah. So it's 15 years ago. So I don't like to go to places of advice, but if I could go back to my 25s,
okay,
I would tell myself to experiment more.
Okay.
I would, because the things do get a little bit, it does become kind of like more kind of rules the older that you get, and more constraints on what you can do, and less freedoms for some reason as well. A lot of older people feel, and I wish I just played around a bit more in my 20s, just experimented with stuff, just tried stuff, had more adventures, more holidays,
cool,
that kind of stuff. You know?
Get a boat. Sorry.
Get a boat. Yeah, a boat. Like if I could go back to my mid-20s, I would get a boat.
Sorry.
What about you? Do you want a boat?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, now I know, Will, that you want a boat. Where did this?
Like, oh my God.
Where did this come from? Wanting a boat?
Honestly, like I've just come back from Cyprus, and my whole headspace was like, I wish I could just be like, for a weekend, I'm just going to go to France, but I don't have a lot of money. Like I work a normal job, obviously, as well as doing acting, and the normal job is minimum wage. I'm not doing anything impressive. So like the idea of going on holidays and things like that is like, I have to save to go on a holiday. But like my headspace, I'm not going to get a boat, like, obviously. Yeah. Like right now, it's like, if I had a boat, I know I could just be like, I'm going to take a couple of days off and just sail down to France or sail down to Spain for a couple of days and then sail back, like, and just take like that week off, and you don't have to pay anything to do that. Granted, you got to pay for mooring for the boat, and obviously the boat originally, but once you've got the boat and you're paying for mooring, or to sail to another country in the EU it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah,
we seem to be in a world that we're constricted with our freedoms based upon how much money we've got.
Yeah,
and very much so at the moment in this 100%. Time of recession looming on us, on every country in the world feels like it's about to have this financial disaster, this crash. And so to have freedoms, to go on holidays, to have adventures, it depends how much money you got in the bank. Whereas if you had a boat, who's to stop you going on that boat and going on an adventure?
Yeah. And like, I looked up how I really delved into this. I was like, how long would it take to sail to Cyprus? And it'd take like on a relatively slow boat that's traveling like 8 to 10 knots. It'd take you about 16 days to get there.
Okay.
So, I mean...
but that's a 16-day adventure.
Exactly.
Like the getting there is part of the trip.
So you could take, theoretically, you could take like 2 months out, and you could just make stops at like go down to France, stop at France, Spain, and then go through the Gibraltar, up to Italy, Greece, and down to Cyprus.
You're selling this to me, Will.
I know.
I'm going to get a boat as well.
Do it.
Should we timeshare?
Yeah, I think we should.
We should timeshare a boat. Let's do it. Let's find out how much it is, and then we'll get a group together.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's happening, Rihanna.
Yeah, it's happening. Well, Rihanna might want to timeshare. Like, she might be listening to this. True. She might be like, "Yeah, I'll be in on that."
Yeah, I mean, I think it might take a bit of sailing, but I think I could say if there's a dog on the boat or something, I think she'd join.
Yeah.
You get a dog.
Get a dog that you can take with you.
Yeah.
I wonder how safe. I guess safety is like in anything that you do, isn't it? Without the, I guess that's part of the adventure, learning how to be safe
100%.
on the boat,
and
going out at the correct times. I guess there's stuff to learn.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% there is. Like, I mean, going from England to France, to Spain, to Italy, to Greece, to Cyprus, is you can kind of coastal sail. You don't like, you can just follow the coast and go through the Gap of Gibraltar and then come up. Like, it's not,
you don't have to be out.
Yeah, you're not going out into the Atlantic and really risking it.
You could do it always having land in
with land in sight, 100%. Yeah, which I think is kind of what also sold me on, like, and I think that would be a lot, because you can actually sail from England to Eastern America, because there are stops that you can take, like tiny islands that you can stop at. But obviously doing that, you're going across the Atlantic, which is quite a hell of
big trek.
Yeah. So I'll stick with Europe.
Yeah, but I guess you could start. You start with Europe.
Yeah,
you get used to sailing. You learn how to be safe and do it all correctly, and then you branch out and go across the Atlantic.
And I love the idea of having like all these different like what are they called? Not abilities, but like things that I can do. What are they called?
Skills.
That's the word. That's the word.
Yeah.
Skills. Like I like the idea of having several skills that I might not even use loads, but like these skills under my belt that might actually end up benefiting me in terms of mocap. Like that's kind of where my head is. Like the idea of
well, any real world skills inform your imagination.
Yeah.
Imaginary.
You got it.
Is that a word?
Imaginary.
It's a word now.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely. Yeah, no, it does. It fully does. Like if I'm doing something mocapture and they're like, oh, okay, like do the rigging for the boat. If I've already like sailed on a boat, I know how to tie. I could do a figure 8 knot and like tie it up. Like that's kind of where I'm at. It's like if I can get as many skills under my belt as possible, they're just more things that I can label. Like I can horse ride, and like that's something I can put on my actor CV. It's like, oh, I can horse ride. I can imitate.
Sorry, that takes me back to when I filled out my first acting CV, and on there I can horse ride.
Really?
When I couldn't.
Oh my god.
My first TV acting job, I had to ride a horse.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Terrible. So bad. So it was a documentary about King Charles II.
Right.
And so I was the young King Charles II, and there was multiple King Charleses throughout this documentary at different phases in his life. And so I'm in one scene being King Charles II, and that was all okay, and it was all about it was just about him when he was young, and I did all of that stuff. And then the next phase up was him going to his first battle, and riding his horse into the battlefield. And I could not get on this horse. I thought you said you could ride a horse, and I was like, yeah, it's just a bit bigger than the horses I know.
Oh my goodness, that's just never gonna fly.
And I was getting the trainer of the horse was like, you've never done this before, have you, mate? And I'm like, no. And
what happened? Did they?
I could ride the horse well enough to just do the.
Were you just?
I literally just had to ride it, but it was close to. It taught me at a very early age. Don't lie on your acting CV.
Were you just walking? You didn't like trot. You didn't.
No,
go
just
any
had
quicker.
to trot.
You
just had to trot along.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's fine. However, I say don't lie on your acting CV. Would I have got the job at all without ticking that box?
Paid.
I got paid.
You've done
I did it.
Yeah,
I did it. It wasn't actually.
And now you can label on your CV. Can actually ride a horse.
Yeah, and I've done it on screen now. So maybe sometimes the not telling the truth like in this scenario it worked out okay. But still be careful.
Of course. I'm not going to whack on that. I can ride a motorbike. That's not just going to happen.
No, I guess there's limits, isn't there, to what you can do. And I think as well in these environments, like being on a film or TV thing, if you say you can ride a horse and you can't, then just be prepared to tell the truth at some point before you go too far.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. I didn't know you'd done that.
Yeah, that's my first ever job as well on a TV set.
Brilliant. But yeah, I love. As I said, as many skills as I can get, so I can honestly sell my CCTV on your CV.
Yes. Yeah, it's better to have honest ones.
Yeah. I think that's probably the aim. But yeah, if I can get sailing on there, sailed across the Atlantic once, that'd be great.
Yeah. And what a great adventure for just life.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's living at that point. Like, that's freedom.
Yeah.
Like I love Pirates of the Caribbean. Like every time I go on holiday, I bring, this is proper nerdy stuff. Every time I go on holiday, I pack a pirate outfit, and I'm like doing a pirate shoot when I'm out on holiday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, like it's great fun. Like as I said, I love acting. I'm not a massively shy person, so I don't mind standing there and people are just looking at it. Like I had a couple of kids.
So when you get your sailboat, are you going to be dressed as a pirate all the time?
Probably.
Are you going to live the pirate life? Is that really what it is? You want to live the pirate life?
Absolutely. No, I would like if I were to get a boat, 100% I'm dressing up at some point and getting a photo shoot on that. But no, I wouldn't live like that entirely. No, I feel like, no, maybe not. It's not quite the same pirate life anymore. I think pirates have evolved a little bit more. They have cannons. They've got more AKs and things like that. But yeah, like I take this stuff on holiday, and I love Pirates of the Caribbean. And one thing that Jack Sparrow says is like, being on the ocean is freedom. Like that's what freedom truly is being able to just go wherever you want without a restraint. And the more I think about it, I'm just kind of like, it's just so true. Like you can go wherever you want, and you haven't got to worry about, like, obviously you got to worry about the ocean and like the natural things that happen, but
society in the world cannot hold you back. Whatever, Trump deciding he's going to do a trade war can't affect your life out there.
Granted, like, I mean, like most sailboats now have an engine to allow you to get out of the dock. Like you turn the engine on, you get out of the dock, and then you hoist the sails and you turn the engine off, and then the rest is you're just sailing the wind. But so the petrol is the only price that would ever affect. And as long as you got a passport, you can stop in any EU country for 90 days and you're cushy. Like that's awesome.
Sold.
Yeah. like why would I not want to do that? I don't know. Like in my head, I'm just kind of like, why would you not do that? Like it's just, that's a hell of an experience. And I want kids. Like I really want kids. Not yet, like later on in life, but like that's an awesome story to tell your kids, and also something you can do with your kids. Like if you've still got the boat by that point, you're like, you want to go out? Like,
let's go on.
Yeah.
Like, so when I was younger, my parents had a camper van, a motorhome, and we went on holiday 3 or 4 times a year.
Exactly.
Because they had the freedom to go,
to do it.
Right, let's chuck everything in the motorhome.
Let's go.
And let's go down to the other side of the country, down to the beach for the weekend.
100%. You know, that's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, motorhomes are the other way to do it. Petrol is expensive these days, and something like a motorhome, they eat a lot of petrol.
Yeah.
So it makes them not quite so economically viable as they used to be.
Yep.
Whereas a sailboat,
exactly,
the wind,
got the winds. That's all you need. As long as there's wind, you're
good.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that, and that's why I like the idea so much. I think, and yeah, I just love the idea of being free and being able to do what you want. And obviously I want to do acting, and that's like my main thing. But if I can do acting and get enough to then get a sailboat, I can just, if I've got the liberty to be able to spend that money on a sailboat, hopefully I'm relatively financially stable at that point to be able to be like, I'm going to take a month or so off to go and just explore the world. Like, why would I not?
I'm fully behind you on
that. So, I don't know. As I said, I hyperfixate. So here we are.
Hyperfixating on freedom, though, is not a thing that you have to worry about. I don't think.
That's true.
I think that's something we all deserve.
Yeah. Why not? The world can be a crap place.
Exactly.
Just have fun with the limited time you've got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for this.
That's all right. No,
I really do appreciate it. Before we wrap this up, just remind me what I need to do before next weekend.
So for next weekend, you need to get your iPad and download D&D Beyond. I will help you create your character on that, so you haven't got to worry about creating your character. That's pretty much the only step you've got to do, because the rest we're going to sort out your character, make them strong, and then truly exploring your character will be in the session, which is where everyone else will actually get to see your character as well. Maybe kind of establish how you want to talk. If you think you would talk like yourself, talk like yourself. If you think you would talk with a more huskier voice, and talk with a more huskier voice.
So explore my character over the next week.
Have fun.
Awesome.
That is like the number one rule.
Thanks again, Will. I do appreciate it.
All right.
You joining and sharing.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
Yeah, it's great, hasn't it?
It's so chill. Yeah, I don't know why I was stressing, to be fair.
There's no stress here. It's the space where we be free and we chat about the things that we love.
Yeah, it's lovely. Really nice.
And if anyone has been watching or listening,
has a boat they want to give me,
or if you have a boat, contact us. Just drop us a DM and
we'll stream it. We'll stream sailing to Cyprus.
We could do a podcast on the way.
100%.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to sponsor a podcast going to Cyprus on a boat, we're here for that.
It'll be us learning the ropes, literally learning the ropes. So I think it'll be quite fun.
I think this is where this is evolving to next.
Yeah.
Podcast on a boat.
Podcast on a boat and a live D&D show.
Yeah, love it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Well, we've got plans.
Let's make it happen.
Perfect.
Cheers, Will.
Really.